Hello everybody and welcome to Grassroots Vegan. So, would I ever eat meat? I have no intentions of eating meat. I don't have any interest in eating meat. I don't think about it. It's not something that tempts me in any way, shape, or form. But I also am realistic that there could be a circumstance in the future which would put me in a place where I would eat meat or some kind of animal product. But it would have to be a desperate situation. I mean, it would have to be something really exceptional, like, for example, ending up somewhere in the world because of an airplane accident or something like that, and my only choice for survival is to eat meat. And then in that case, I would make concessions. I know there are vegans out there that claim they would never, under any circumstance, eat meat. They would rather die. And, they mean it in the moment, but it's so convenient to be able to make that statement when you have a choice. So basically, my attitude is, no, I have a choice, and my choice is not to eat meat. But there could be an event that occurs in the future beyond my control that would put me in a position where I have no choice but to eat some kind of animal product. The likelihood of that happening is pretty remote, but you never know. You can't predict those things. Now, another question that you may want to ask is, have I ever in the past ate meat as a vegan? And to be completely honest with you, yes, there have been a few occasions where I have. And mainly in the beginning when I was a vegan, because, the fact was, my choice to become a vegan was based on my then wife, who decided to become a vegan. I really had no interest in being a vegan. I did it because of her. I didn't really think it was going to last. I thought it was just going to be a fad. And so I didn't believe in it in the beginning, first of all. And then when I started to see the health benefits from it, I was more or less on board. But there was still, a part of me psychologically struggling with the fact of never eating my favorite meats again. And so there were a few occasions, and I talked about one of those occasions in a previous video that I did where I ate lamb. There were a few occasions where I consciously chose to have meat or to have cheese and or some kind of animal product, because I really had to know for sure that I could really, this was really for me, this vegan lifestyle. And the thought, as long as that thought was in my mind about missing out on something, I didn't want to go for the rest of my life feeling like I'm missing out on something. So it was necessary for me in the early days to, after going a few months without having any meat, to eat some meat. And sure enough, it was a disappointment. It did not meet my expectations. And the very next day, I just resumed being a vegan. And I did that a few times. Now, there was another occasion later on where I chose to eat meat, and it had nothing to do with being tempted by it or having a craving for it. It was, and this may sound strange, and I know there's going to be a lot of you that won't agree with what I'm about to say, but I did it out of love. And what I'm talking about here, it was in 2011. My mother invited me over for dinner. She was going to cook a meal. She hadn't cooked a meal in a long time because as she was aging, cooking was becoming more and more difficult for her. And she was in her 80s by then. And I mean, in the past, she used to cook these amazing meals. And for Christmas, she would always host Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving as well. And family members and friends would all come over. I mean, everybody looked forward to her Christmas dinners. And she would put a lot of work into that, and she took great pride in that. And then, so it was hard for her later on in life not to be able to do that anymore. And so now my mom knew that I was a vegan, like there was nothing new there, but her memory was starting to slip. And when I came over to her place, she was cooking me a steak dinner, which in the past I would have just, been very excited about. And so, there I was. I thought, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but what do I do here now? Do I tell my mother, no, I'm a vegan, I can't eat this, I'm sorry? And it probably would have got her upset. I chose not to do that. I chose to just let her finish cooking the meal, serve it to me, and we ate dinner together. And we had a really nice time. And I'm so glad I did that because it was the last meal that she would ever cook for me. And so, this is where sometimes love and compassion even has to override your own moral principles. I know this sounds like a contradiction, but there are circumstances such as that. And I think an example would be, if you've ever taken an ethics class or a philosophy class, and you're discussing ethics, you'll come up with the question, would you ever lie, even though you know lying is wrong? Is there ever a justification to lie? And and then of course you hear stories in the Second World War where people who were devout Christians that normally would not lie did lie to the Nazi police to protect Jewish people from being taken away. So you would say in that circumstance they were protecting they lied to protect someone's life. In my situation here, it was my mother, who had forgotten that I was a vegan, out of her love, prepared this meal for me, was excited about the fact that she prepared this meal for me. Was I going to now let her down? And so I chose not to, and I ate the meal because, think about this. Now I know ethical vegans will say, well, what about the cow? What about the animals being slaughtered? That piece of steak, whatever cow that came from, it was long gone. It was already dead. No matter what I would have said or done in that moment, it would not have changed the circumstance of the cow. He was gone. So the only thing that mattered to me in that moment was my relationship with my mother, who I knew. I knew that the time was limited. And sure enough, by 2013, she passed away. And that was in 2011 that happened. So, how did I feel? I hadn't had meat in a while. And, you hear vegans saying that, they ate some meat or they ate an animal product and they felt really sick afterwards. I have to be honest with you. I didn't feel I didn't feel different, really. The next day I wasn't sick or anything like that, and nor did I feel like going back to eating the standard American diet. I had that dinner with my mother, and I resumed being a vegan after that. It was nothing. It was a non-event, except the important thing is that I had this time with my mother, which I treasure to this day. So, I'm not saying that this is how you should deal with those kinds of situations. We all make our own choices. But I guess, where I'm going with all of this is, don't be too hard-lined with yourself. Like, I'm a vegan. I'm 100% vegan. I don't even eat honey. And as my vegan journey has progressed, I mean, even in the first few years of being a vegan, in terms of being an ethical vegan, I really wasn't. I was a vegan for health reasons for the longest time, and I didn't really think much about the circumstance of animals in factory farms and the cruelty that goes on. I kind of just ignored that. I just figured, well, I'm not participating by being a vegan. And now it's been 7 years now, and I am becoming more sensitive to those issues. And it is becoming more to me than just for personal health. But again, if in the future there were to be an event occur that would put me in a situation where I had no choice but to eat an animal product for my survival, I would do it. I would be crazy not to do it. And I think most vegans would make that choice as well, even though they convince themselves today that they wouldn't. But again, they've got options today. So when you have the comfort of having options, you can say whatever you want. The real truth comes out is when you do face those unusual situations. And for starting out as a vegan, and if you slip back and you eat some animal products because it was just in your head, you couldn't get it out. It was just something that was you just had to do. Don't be hard on yourself. It happened. Move on. What matters at this point is that you just get back on track and resume being a vegan. It's really that simple.